All right. Well, do you want to tell who our guest is today, Brad?
All right. Yeah. Today our guest is Gene Hamil. Gene Hamil is I'll let Gene Hamil tell us what he does.
Well,
Thank you, Brad.
I'm a man of many skills.
Yeah.
I do a lot of different things. I do everything from marketing. I also do professional website development and applicational development. I also do computer networking, along with computer repair, along with laser printer repair on top of that too. And on the side, we do, of course, Twisted Carnival. I'm the founder of Twisted Carnival, and I also do paranormal investigations, which we just recently reorganized and rolled. Give me one second. Sorry about that. And just rolled all of that underneath Twisted Carnival this year.
So, what do you like better? Do you like the paranormal or do you like the marketing side of it?
I like all of it because to
Mm.
me, it's really helpful, especially. I've got I also do promotions, for a lot of other paranormal groups, along with what we call haunt venues, um,
Hmm.
such as the House of the Raccoon, which is over there in Mineola, Texas. And Dr. Hottie Hope that owns that. In fact, we just did a paranormal investigation over there a couple of months ago, and we did a documentary on it that we're going to be showing over there at the Brandon Public Library. I'll get into that later, but it all goes together for me. It just makes it a
Hmm.
lot easier because if I need something done, I don't have to wait and go and contact this person or this person, and wait a week or two. I can just knock it out, get it out.
Yes, sir.
Do you feel? What do you think? Like when you get, let's say, you get a phone call, right?
Hmm.
And there's some paranormal activity. You get a group together. You go out. What's the time limit on putting something together? How long does it take from start to finish to like? Is it a month for research and then I know you have to do filming and everything and
Yeah.
documenting? I mean, can you take us in the process of like one of your projects?
Sure. So mostly I do commercial property, um, and some residential, but I kind of got moved away from the residential part of it, and started doing more into the commercial, like your abandoned hospitals, the really big, locations.
Hmm.
But it's all pretty much the same though, and it really depends on the activity itself,
Hmm.
and also the available, research, things like that. Like, some people, they don't want to know anything about a property, when they first go there, and I don't either. I mean, I just want to go and see what I can get, what I can find, and I'll do that, probably about 3 or 4 different times, and then that's when I'll research after if I do have any evidence, then I'll research at that point to see am I is what I found matching any historical record, and then sometimes from that we can also glean additional questions and stuff, and then go back and continue. But I normally take it, I try to do it uh, as close to a scientific standpoint as possible. I mean, you have a lot of other people that like to go more religious, with it, and that's cool for them. But I try not to cross that line. You know what I'm saying? So
What kind of gear do you have in your bag?
yeah, so I use mainly an old, just a digital recorder, which is really, really good. I also have a high power laptop and along with a high power microphone, and I'll just let that run, just recording, you know, all the sounds, etc. I also have a K2 meter, as well. I also have an EDI plus meter, and that particular meter records vibrations, it records temp changes, and it's also got a K2 built into it as well. I also use thermal cameras. I'll use some of those as well. Night vision cameras, I'll use some of those on top of that.
That's cool.
And then from time to time, I, and again, every paranormal investigator is different. But me personally, I don't. I like to take a psychic, that I have vouched for. I like to take, a psychic every now and then and just see kind of what they pick up. If they pick up anything, then what I'll do is for a client, I will write down, this is what we got off of our devices, okay? And this right here is what a psychic got. And I let that particular person make a judgment as far as how they want to interpret that after we give them, the recommendation. So, so ultimately, once I figure out if a place is haunted, then I'll normally try to figure out how haunted. And for me, I've got 5 levels of that. 5 being, not going back, and I'm not going to take anybody else there. I've got a couple of locations like that actually. If I do go back there, then whoever goes with me better be up there. I mean, they better be well trained, because those are locations that are not for the faint of heart.
Mm-hmm. Who usually contracts y'all for this research? Is it people potentially buying the properties, or what? How does that process work?
You're talking about, like, how does someone get in contact with us about doing investigation? Normally, it starts out with they've had something that they can't explain, like maybe they saw some sort of shadow, at the corner of their eye, or they literally witnessed something move or get thrown. Sometimes they'll have unexplained noises or sounds, going off, and if they can't figure it out, then of course that's when they call somebody like me to come in and start. Now, sometimes, not all the time, but normally in a lot of these older places, the sounds and stuff like that, a lot of times that can be debugged, because it's an old building, right? You may have a rat, you may have a raccoon, etc. But we'll get down, to the bottom of that, normally, via EVP.
Do you do you feel sometimes, have you had situations where you've been called out and they've been faking stuff?
Who's been faking stuff?
Like if you like a commercial property, because some of these places, if you go and do paranormal activity, you'll bring tourists.
Right.
And
if you're doing an event, you would definitely bring tourists. But if you're going to do an event, by this time, you already know. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, I already know what degree that this is going, that this is in, in that particular location, and I know about what people are going to probably, experience from that location as well.
My thing would be, so a scenario like this, they call you out. Let's say it's a bread and breakfast. We all know that if they're haunted, they rent more.
Right.
Yeah.
And them calling you out and maybe setting some stuff up so they get your approval.
Right.
And it's like, Gene Hamil investigated here.
Right.
And then now they're booking their bed and breakfast. People like staying in haunted places.
Mm-hmm.
They do. And I'm not going to mention any names, but I do have one place like that, and it was over there in Texas. I won't mention the city or anything, but the place was already super haunted, okay? They didn't need to add or fake really anything, but they chose to do that, They were literally using a 2-way blink camera, okay? And one of the guys would be back there in the back in a different room in the house with an app that can control that camera, along with a voice changer, and then altering his voice because he could see you on the camera, right? And those cameras have a built-in speaker, and microphone. So he would just sit there on his phone, tap, and say, and just make, different sounds, noises, or maybe call you out, by name, and it would freak people out. Because I asked him, I said, why do you have those cameras, but then you've got these night vision cameras up here, and you've got all that tied, to a TV in another part of the house? It didn't make any sense, to me. And unfortunately, at that time, my back was completely thrown out, man. I couldn't hardly move. And so I was having to rely on some other people to continue with the investigation. And I wasn't able to figure that out, immediately. It was a couple of months later, another paranormal investigator actually stayed there and figured it out, and then me and him got to talking about it, and I was like, man, if my back wouldn't have been thrown out, I would have probably, came to the same conclusion, because he actually was able to take the time to grab, the cameras and look at the model and research the model,
I do that to
some
my
of those
kids,
cameras.
my son's baby monitor sometimes.
I had to
Right.
run some bums off my porch the other day.
Yeah.
Using
So I
my
do
room.
that, like my baby monitor. I'll just go in, with my son. I mean, he's 6 and Emily still has a baby monitor. And I'm not going to lie, I do play with it a little bit. But I love him. He's my son. But I was always thinking that I was like, because if like you give approval at one of these locations, you increase the value of some of these places.
Oh, absolutely. And I have had, places, especially like out there in Natchez, Mississippi, just like, hey, man, I want you to come on out here, check it out, and they'll tell me all these different stories, and stuff like that has supposedly happened. I get out there and there's like nothing happened. And, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it ain't haunted. I mean, think about it like this, guys. Let's say you go deer hunting, okay? Maybe you will see a deer, maybe you won't, right? Well, ghost hunting is no different than that. You go out there and you may see something, may witness something, then again, you may not. That's the reason why you have to go out there several times, and try different instruments, different techniques, to see, is there anything out here? And if you still are coming up with nothing, then, probably just.
Is there anything y'all leave on site, like trail cams or anything like that? So when you leave, you're recording anything. Is there anything like that?
Normally, what we would do is we would set up a night vision system, and then have that running, and then have it to where we can remote into that system to see, if there's anything going on cam.
Would you take some questions? We got some people hitting
Sure.
us up. Okay. So is it Regina?
Do it now.
Regina Simmons? I would be scared a bad spirit would get attached to me. I could see that.
Yeah, so let me talk about attachments real quick, okay? Because some people are
I
like,
can't see that far.
some people have a really good understanding about an attachment, and some people are like, oh my gosh, that's a demon, I'm like, no, it's not the demon, So it is something a little bit different, okay? Demonic possession is not an attachment, just like an attachment is not demonic possession. That's my professional opinion about that. So to me, an attachment is a spirit, okay, that that got attached to you by either you picking up and fiddling with some object and you've got possession of that object, okay, or it was able to transfer itself from that object and onto something other on you. It's so rare that that you would actually have a spirit kind of possess your body. You see what I'm saying? That's pretty rare. But demonic possession, though, on the other hand, real demonic possession, and I'm not talking about what you've seen on The Exorcist, right? You don't got anybody, trolling their head and crap floating around and stuff.
Man.
It would be cool, right? But no. So what is real demonic possession? And again, some other people may have had completely different experiences, and again, all experiences are unique. I'm just going to tell you my experience with it. So I had 2 people on an investigation that did indeed get possessed, and you can tell because the girl, it was a boyfriend and girlfriend. The girl got possessed first. The guy got possessed second. For her, you could wave a bright light in front of her. Nobody home. She wasn't even blinking. Didn't blink for hours, man. I mean, her eyes were beginning to get red, and everything. And she started feeling like real cold to the touch. And I was like, you know what, guys? I think she may be possessed. I said, get her up, walk her out, walk her, and keep walking her until she starts throwing up or starts coming back to her senses. Okay? And they were like, well, why do we need to keep walking her? And I said, because whatever possessed her, you don't know when that came in. So let me pause right there, okay? So in a demonic possession, the theory goes is that, let's say that your property, okay, Jared? So let's say that you've got a demon haunting your property, right? And he just came in 2 days ago, all right? Well, he's going to be bound by where your property is bound. But let's say that he came in like in the 1700s. Well, he's got a lot wider range. You see what I'm saying? To come and go. And so that's the reason why I told him keep walking her until she throws up. Well, as soon as they get the girl out the door, man, and this is not a small girl, okay? She was quite big. And she just came to life, and her vocals were completely different. And I mean, by this time, there's like 4 or 5 people trying to hold on to her and stuff. And she's sitting there just kind of throwing them off, man, like she's Incredible Hulk. I'm like, oh crap, you know? And keep in mind, I got a bad back. And it's still at the same location, the one that I was telling you about, that, you know, that it's haunted. They didn't have to fake anything, you know? But yeah, the girl, though, you know, some other people started praying over and stuff like that. And I said, that's fine. Get her over there, you know? So they kept walking her, and finally she did start throwing up. And then her boyfriend walked right past me, and I said something to him, and I just kind of looked at him in the eyes, and I was like, he ain't nobody home, you know? But he had walked out because he was walking, you know, to her, and they caught up with him about midway, and he started throwing up, you know? And both of them didn't even know where the heck they were. They were like, how'd we get here, you know? And I was like, that's because both of y'all got possessed. And I said, y'all can't come back onto the property, man. We're going to get your things, and you're going to have to go. You know, it's too dangerous.
That's wild.
Okay. That's crazy shit. All right. Brittany Thornhill, shout out Brittany. You guys need to go a live investigation on a location on the coast. We're probably going to team up. Okay. We've already talked to Gene that Brad's been wanting to do this dinner at the movie style podcast series of, like, you know, interviewing interesting people. This is kind of like our first setup doing this. I think we're going to be we also said with Gene that we're going to be doing different segments because he's going to be traveling all over. He's going to talk about that later in the episode, but he's going to travel. We're probably going to be interviewing him while he's overseas. All right. So we got Gary Cooper goes, Chris Smith, my buddy Chris Smith at Ben 605 knows you. He's from Jackson. Says, what up, Gene? Chase sequel.
Up,
I ain't afraid of no ghosts. And my sister Ramsey, hey, bro, I love you.
Afraid of ghosts.
And my sister,
me neither.
Loves yeah. So Ramsey, you can go ghost hunting with us if you want. Okay. And then Gary Cooper goes, where would you not go again?
Well, like I said, the place, and again, I cannot mention its name, that's over there in Texas, the one that I just got through talking about demonic possession. Those are places, man, that, you know, once I find out that something like that, you know, is roaming it, that's as far as I take it. At that point, I refer it off to somebody that's got a lot more experience than I do at cleansing, you know. That's when you start getting more into the religious, you know, aspect of it. And so I tend to punt that off, you know, to people that I feel like that have a lot more experience.
How about your second location?
Do I know?
Your second scariest location that you won't go back to?
The second scariest, I would have to say, would definitely be Stuckey's Bridge. It is the most haunted bridge here in Mississippi. And that place is no joke. But guys, everybody's in luck because I'm going to be revisiting every single one of these locations this year, except for the one, you know, I'm talking about the ones in Mississippi. I'm going to be revisiting all of these wonderful urban legend type locations. We're going to be rerunning, you know, the investigations and stuff like that, you know, back out there and comparing it back to notes that I did, you know, several years ago. That includes Witch of Yazoo, the Queen of the Gypsies. Did you know that she's actually buried here in Mississippi? She is. She's the real queen of the Romanian Gypsies.
We're going to be going over these, right, tonight?
Yes. And the Witch of Yazoo, like I said, I cannot wait because that's going to lead me into Salem, Massachusetts, and we'll get into that as well. Along with Little Boy Blue, the legend of Little Boy Blue over there in western Mississippi. We're going to get into that one. Along with the Witch's Dance. Now, the Witch's Dance, I didn't personally get anything out there. I've heard some people, you know, did. But hey, remember what I told you. It's like going deer hunting, guys. You know, you might get something one time, then again, you might not. Who knows? We go out there this time, and it may just blow us, away.
Can we get in a little detail of the bridge? Where's it located? Give us some insight of that bridge. I think people are very interested in the bridge.
So Stuckey's Bridge. Let me see.
I love you.
So basically, Stuckey's Bridge, okay, was built in 1850. All right, and from 1850 to about 1901, give or take, that's when the legend of Stuckey's Bridge really takes place, is within that particular time frame. And the legend goes like this, okay, is that, I'll get into the backstory, but supposedly if you go out there at night, okay, you will see, oh man, first of all, you will hear the cries and stuff up underneath the bridge of different people that have been killed by old man Stuckey. And then you'll see him with his long trench coat and beard, his white beard. He'll be walking across the bridge with his lantern going back and forth, because he is holding everybody up underneath him captive and preventing them from being able to cross over. And that's really the legend of Stuckey, in a nutshell. But here's the background to Stuckey, which goes with the legend, okay? So it's believed that he was a part of the Dalton gang. And again, it would have been somewhere between 1850 to 1901, somewhere around there, because they built the bridge in 1850. The bridge was torn down and a new one was put out there in 1901. That's the one that's out there today, okay? And I'll get back, I'll just stick that in your brain. We'll come back to that replacement bridge. So during this time frame, he's out there, and he's doing his thing, right? So it's believed that people would go down the Chunky River, and they would stop, and because they would see an inn up there on the hill, okay, and you can see the hill; it's still there. So they would get off there, and they would go and they would rent a room, and him and his partner would kill them, rob them, and then bury their bodies up underneath the bridge.
Oh,
so you all right? What'd you do?
We had a beer can explode. We had a candle on it, like a little candle, and the beer can just exploded everywhere. Or there's spirits next to it.
Oh, there's definitely ghosts, dude.
This is awesome.
Thanks, Gene, for streaming
welcome,
ghosts
bud.
right into this studio, buddy.
Whoa.
You're getting haunted already.
I think so.
Buddy.
All right, dim that light down just a little bit for us. Yeah. You want to dim that down, or you want to keep? Yeah,
Key light?
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm getting scared now. Okay, that just happened. Did you see that?
That's
Comment in the
crazy,
chat
man.
if you've seen that.
Yeah,
if y'all like
I was talking, I was looking directly at my camera, so I had to go back and watch the recording.
Yeah, can y'all share this if y'all like this? Share this, get this out. The Twisted Carnival people, share this. This is going to be an incredible episode. We've already had a beer can explode, a chandelier beer can. That is a little smack. It just exploded on the show right here.
Wow,
we're not making this up.
and there's no reason why.
We better drink it.
From what you're telling me, that's right, man. No alcohol abuse.
Look at that. If you see that, look at it busted.
Man.
Wow. All right. Well,
It's officially haunted.
I think so.
The haunted beer can.
Oh, sorry. All right. Whew.
But yeah, old man Stuckey though, like I said, the town of Meridian came. They started hearing about it, and so a lot of people got together. They came and they basically kidnapped Stuckey and his accomplice. They beat him up and hung them off the bridge, and that's where they died, and they left them there as a warning to anybody else that thinks that they're going to pull this stunt in their in their city or their town. This is going to be what's going to happen to you. Now so basically, after all that happened, they replaced the bridge. I think it was back in 1901. Okay, and if you go out there today, or at least the last time that I went out there, the bridge is in extremely poor condition. As a matter of fact, you have to really know where the bridge is located. and you're not going to really be able to get out there. At least the last time I was out there, you had to have a truck in order to get out there to it, for the most part.
Is the bridge metal or wooden or?
It's a metal frame, but wooden planks, and most of the planks are just about gone.
Oh,
So, and I'm like, I have no idea, how the anchors are, on both sides. So that's the reason why I tell anybody that's going out there, try not to walk on that bridge, because the bridge is super dangerous. Me being an idiot, yeah, I'll do it, but I don't recommend, anybody really doing it. In fact, I probably wouldn't do it now. I mean, because the last time I went out there, I mean, I could have swore I felt that bridge beginning to give away a little bit. But from what I'm told, it's still there. And so let me tell you about some of the things that I witnessed when the last time that I was there. There was a light, literally, in the water, in Chunky River, going back and forth all over the place. And we're like, what in the heck is that? We couldn't figure out what the heck it was, but it was a light, like a big light going back and forth, just, you can tell it wasn't like going in a pattern either. It was like, I don't know, like in random. And then I thought, well, maybe that's something that's just gotten trapped, maybe a lure or something, but then I was like, but there's no light to be shining down, reflecting off of it, except for the moonlight. This ain't making no sense. You see what I'm saying? And then it goes all the way down and then swims right back up, the current. And I'm like, yeah, that's not a fish, and I don't know what the heck that is. And then about that time, we started hearing a lot of crying and stuff, and help me coming up from underneath the bridge. We also had another time back in 2018 when I was on an episode of America's Most Terrifying Places. The Travel Channel via Spark Entertainment came down and pulled me in as a paranormal consultant, and the whole lighting system that they had, just everything, all the batteries got drained and the lighting systems all shut off, the whole thing. They were like, man, we just got here. We just got all this stuff, charged up. There's absolutely no way. And I looked at them and I told them, I said, now you know why I run a gas generator.
Mm-hmm.
When you're going out to places like that, because it'll drain it in a heartbeat.
It's typical for them to mess with the utilities.
Right. Most of the locations, batteries normally get drained, because that's what the theory is, that they're draining them and they're using that, that energy in order to communicate or do whatever it is that they're wanting to do.
All right, y'all take into another story. I got to go run use the restroom. I don't know, something's going on with me right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to go check. I need to go check. Right, y'all get into it. Yeah, I don't know. Right now. But hold on. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Irritable bowel syndrome. He'll be all right.
Could be. Could be the chicken sandwich. Just continue. I'll be right back.
All right. So tell us, you want to tell us a little bit about that Witches of Yazoo story you were telling about a second ago.
So the Witch of Yazoo is a really fun one. I love going out there because it's not a level 5, or anything like that, but it's just such a neat urban legend, and it's very difficult. I mean, I've got my opinions about it, but is it real or is it not? And it leads into a whole nother, I wouldn't quite call it legend, but I would call it a mystery. So basically in the 1880s, okay, there was this homeless person, all right, that was living out there, near the river on the banks, and she was supposedly capturing or luring fishermen, off their boats, like, please help me, I'm old, etc.
Oh yeah.
And then when they wasn't looking, she would, kill them, and she was the cannibalistic on top of that, so she was eating them. Okay, so that's the legend, and then further on, there was these two boys that was playing out there in the woods, etc. And she lured them in, and she killed one, the other one ran. Okay, and he ran and got the sheriff, the sheriff deputies, and they went out there, and they saw her, and she takes off running, so they start running after her. Okay, when they finally catch up to her, they by this time she had fallen into quicksand. Okay, and so you could only see her from about here up to her head, and she was, she was sinking, she was dying. The sheriff, all he could do was like, watch her. But she did manage to get her hand up out of it and point directly at him and tell him, in 20 years, I'm going to come back and I'm going to burn this entire town down. Okay.
Come on.
So, this was really before, I think it was really kind of before the town was even called Yazoo. All right. But I do know, like, I think it was May 25th, 1904. Yeah. May 25th, 1904 is when a fire did break out. And guess what? That was 20 years
20 years later.
Correct.
Come on.
That was 20 years later.
So wow.
Now the fire, that's the legend explains that's how the fire started. Other people say, that the fire actually started from an electrical failure in a building. Who knows? Maybe the witch caused it, the electrical failure, and that's,
Yeah. She didn't tell you how she'd start the fire.
Exactly. She just said, I'm going to burn it down,
That's right.
And so she did. Now, when that happened, the sheriff, ran, because he was like, it dawned on him, right? And so he ran out there to the cemetery, because she was buried over there in Glenwood Cemetery, over there in Yazoo. And so he runs out there, and the chains that surrounded her grave were indeed broken. All right.
Come on.
And so that's how she was, supposedly was released and caused the fire, and then she, I guess, went back into the grave. I don't know where she went. But that's the legend. So what's the truth behind it? Is there any truth behind the story? All right.
Right.
That's where it gets really interesting. So, so the first thing I did was, just like a lot of people, when it comes to something like this, I'm going to research it first. I'm going to research it, see, can I find any historical records? Were all the records actually burned up? I don't know. But I did find out, and I was trying to figure out, where did the legend start from? Well, it was in 1974. The legend was first published by a famous author right here in Mississippi by the name of Willie Morris. Willie happens to be buried out there in the same cemetery. Coincidence? I don't know. Because that is the largest cemetery that I'm aware of out there in Yazoo. Okay. Now, the witch's grave today, all right, is not the real witch's grave. And I'm going to get into that in a second. All right. That's a proven fact. It's not.
All right.
And it's not for a reason. I feel very confident that I finally located it, but I'll get into that in a second.
All right.
So basically, if you go out there today, the monument that's there, it was donated back in 1995. Okay, it looks like a tombstone. Somebody pushed it over, vandalizing it, etc. But if you read it closely, it was actually, I think it was 1995, and it was basically just a dedication monument to the groundskeeper of the cemetery, for his retirement, if I remember correctly. Well, getting back to remember, I told you that this leads into a mystery, not really a legend, but to a mystery. There was a group of people that and I want to say it was from Southern, that was fascinated by this. And so they wanted to dig it up. They're like, we're going to go out there. We're going to pay for it. We got to know who's in the grave. Okay. And they had a theory that it wasn't the witch after all, that it was actually a man that belonged to an old fraternity, not a Masonic fraternity, but it was an old fraternity. I think they have one or two chapters here in Mississippi called the Oddfellow Fraternity. And if you were to look at their logo, you can Google it, Oddfellow Fraternity. Their logo is 3 unique chains. Now, look up a picture of the Witch of Yazoo, and you're going to see those 3 exact design chains that go around this monument that says that this is indeed the witch's grave. Okay, so they think that it was symbolic to the Oddfellows, and that this person is actually buried there. But I'm just like, guys, I don't think so. That would be against a ton of policies of nowadays, right? So I don't really think that anybody, is buried in that particular spot. But I do think that the witch is indeed buried out there on the land. So this is where psychics come in. All right. So I took psychics and also a couple of people, other paranormal investigators. We went out there, and I went out there with a team of not one, two, three. I took a team of 15 out there to look at it. As a matter of fact, Jill Fair, love her to death, great psychic medium. She went out there, and her team did a phenomenal job. And where they pointed that the grave was and is made pretty good sense, And my wife, being from Yazoo, she was born and raised in Yazoo, said that she remembered the grave being about that same area as well when she was a little kid, not where it is today. And so we get out there to try to confirm with our equipment, and we were able to get the equipment to work. When we asked questions right there in that area, it was lighting up. We did the tobacco offering, and told her, because at first she didn't want to have nothing to do with this at all. But I was like, just being trying to be as respectful as I could. And, and then we went ahead and just marked it, and just kind of kept that. What else?
You said tobacco offering?
Correct. Yep. We did.
Did y'all discuss that? Yeah. Sorry, I had to release some demons in the bathroom. I had some chills. There's a beer can went off. Yeah.
All demons go to the ocean.
Well, that's what happened. No, but what is? I apologize, Chase. Yeah, that's what happened. I started having chills. I ran to the bathroom. I went hardcore. But you said tobacco offering. Like, can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So it's believed that, especially like when you're dealing with things that are Asian like that, whether like you're maybe, you've come across some sort of, Native American, entity, or you've come across, an entity such as like this particular witch, it's good just to kind of leave a tobacco offering. That's what I've always been told. Now, as to the exact reasons of why, I'm a little cloudy on that. But I can tell you that ever since I've done that in practice, I haven't had nobody bothering me, and they seem to respect you, a little more because you're showing respect, in return.
So if I wanted to do an Airbnb that was haunted, I would want to put maybe like tobacco on the pillow instead of some chocolates.
There you go, man. Just get you a couple of cigars and just kind of line them up and say, welcome.
How many cases have you studied in the last 20 years of your work?
Oh my gosh, man. Hundreds. I mean, it's got to be up in the hundreds. Like we did one, and again, this is out there in Sartasha, Mississippi, like right before you get to Yazoo, called the Gates of Hell. And the actual Gates of Hell is not exactly where they say it is. It's actually off. I mean, you can walk to it, from, they think that the Gates of Hell is like around the bridge area, but it's not. It's off into the woods. But it too, though, has a unique urban legend. And that legend is that supposedly there was a bunch of cowboys that were trying to take over the land. And they were fighting with a lot of Native Americans, and stuff at the time. And they actually were running the Native Americans into the river out there that flow. I can't remember the name of the river. I just know where it's located. But apparently instead of letting the cowboys and stuff kill them, they just basically committed mass suicide in the river. And while they were doing it, they were singing and chanting this song. So when we get out there, we're investigating the bridge. We're not really getting anything. And so when we noticed two huge, and I mean huge, oak trees, man, that are just, I've never seen oak trees this large, especially that close together. And as soon as you walk through that thing, man, you feel different. I mean, it's just a different feeling that just comes over your entire body. As a matter of fact, there's been people that have gotten sick out there. And this all happened in the same night because I've only been out there twice. But we've had, the first time we had somebody get sick. The second time we had somebody, their nose just started pouring blood. As soon as they went straight through those two oak trees, boom, like a Russian river, man, just boom, going out. So So when we were out there, we tried to do a little bit of old school stuff. Instead of relying on the K2 or anything like that, we put a cigarette up on a log and we asked the question. We said, "Hey, if you can, if you can hear us, can you take a puff off of this right here?" And it did. It sure did. I mean, you could see it light up, and it did that a couple of times. And I was like, that is wild, because I had never seen anybody else do it. Like when you watch, like Ghost Adventures, or anything like that, you always see all these ghost shows, people running around, with all the equipment and all this stuff. Some of it, is gimmicky, some of it ain't. But I just thought that was neat to do something that you're not touching it, and you can see it, actually take a drag off of the cigarette. I thought that was pretty neat. But that legend, though, like I said, there was somebody out there that was with us that unfortunately was being an idiot, and all of a sudden he starts gagging and starts grabbing the hold of his throat. We're like, "What's wrong with you, man?" He's like, "Man, something's choking me. Something has their hand around me." And we told him, "You need to apologize." And he just refused to apologize. He started turning blue. And then he got on his knees, man, at that point and started apologizing. And then after that, whatever was choking him released. And you can see he started getting his color back. He started turning from kind of a bluish color back to red and then back to normal. And then he booked it, man. He had to go.
Has he been doing it since?
Do I know?
Has he been back out in the field after that?
That was the only time that he ever been on an investigation. It was his very first time, and it was also his last time.
That's pretty scary, right? I mean, if you...
Well, a lot of people, a lot of times, like you see some of these guys on these TV shows, right? And they're like, well, if you don't do this, I'm going to do this, and they just really start antagonizing. Yeah, you got to know when to do that, but you also got to know when not to do that. A lot of times these guys do that just strictly for the entertainment value, not realizing that there may be something there at that moment that's going to take you to school real quick.
It's entertainment. If you do a show, it's going to be entertainment, like wrestling. Right. People want to see entertainment. I mean, they want to see. They want to see somebody come out of while you're doing paranormal activity. They want to see a ghost with a chainsaw cut your arm off. Right. If you could make that happen, you'd have the #1 show because people want to see that stuff. People want to see you. Go through a window. They want to see you. Bleed out your eyes.
Yeah, the production value is a lot better.
So I was called up, to be a consultant on Ghost Adventures, okay? And this was like major years ago. They came over there to the Kuhn. It used to be called the Kuhn Hospital, and they came out there, and they were, by this time it was already fenced off. They had already taken all of our permissions and everything away because somebody actually got killed out there. As a matter of fact, before I get into the legend part of it, I was actually at a comic book convention. I was a guest of honor. We had our Twisted Carnival booth and everything, and there was a guy that was next to me. He lived over near Vicksburg, and all of a sudden, mine and his phone are just lighting up, man. People calling all of a sudden, different news reporting agencies and stuff, WJTV, ABT, and all this, wanting to know who got killed over there at the Kuhn Hospital. And we're like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, didn't y'all find the body? We're told that a paranormal investigator found the body, and we're like, it's not us. And we were the ones that had the permission, to go out there. Well, long story short, so my buddy at the time went over there, and and was starting to, it was looking around, gave me a call and said they took her into the hall and into the stairwell. Going up to the second floor and executed her there. I think the lady was like in her late 60s or early 70s. The guy apparently had kidnapped her out of her house, took her out there and killed her. And Kuhn at the time, man, hands down, was probably the most terrifying place in the entire state of Mississippi. But they, to protect it and and stuff. plus the building, the wall, I mean, not the wall, but the ceiling had also caved in too in some of the rooms. So they just went ahead and built a fence around it. Well, Ghost Adventure comes into town and gives them big money, to come in. And me and a couple other people got pulled in as consultants. Well, they're filming my part, right? And I'm doing my part, I'm telling my name, they're filming me. And then as soon as the videographer stops filming me, he walks over to me and says, all right, man, I need you to submit all your paranormal stuff to us, all your evidence. I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, if you got any paranormal evidence, I need you to go ahead and submit all that to us. And I said, man, I'm not submitting anything to you now. I said, it's not for sale. I said, I'll lease it to you if that's what you want. I said, but I'm not selling it to you. Any rate though, I'm out there, of course, the entire day. Okay. Well, after that happened, that was the only time that I was in front of the camera. I noticed that my part of the investigation was axed, and even the stuff that they filmed, they didn't even include it. And I was like, well, but to each their own. I mean, to me, I felt like at the time I was like, that sucked, but now I kind of look back on it and I'm like, man, I am so glad I was not a part of that crap, because again, not everything is, oh my gosh, I'm possessed and there's a demon, and that just seems to be what the whole thing seems to be about these days. And I'm like, not every place is haunted and not everything's demonic, and
so it's kind of like, I for you get your feelings are a little hurt by it. Like you take this serious and then you jump into a production and then you realize that there's a lot of is it Hollywood magic?
Yeah.
What was that stuff in the 90s, that one show, like
movie magic
style? And you're like, hey, like I do this without a camera.
Right.
And they're like, I need all your stuff. I need all your work.
Like we'll do, we'll use a camera, and stuff like that, just to go back, and video it, and document, in case if we miss something or we got some sort of paranormal, evidence, on. And I mean, and I've even, filmed, our own, shows and stuff, but at least, and I get what they're saying when they say that what you are about to see, is real. Well, yeah, the evidence that they have obtained for the most part is real. Is the only difference is they're not the ones that got it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was the paranormal team that they got with, or that consultant, and that's the bad thing about it. But that
how sad were you? Like how long did it like once you realized what's going on, did you take a break where you're like,
no,
no,
and that's going to lead me into the question, an answer for your question, just a second. So basically for me, I was like, well, all this may have happened, all right, but I'm not going to let it get to me. I'm not going to sit here and let it pull me down, or get depressed about it, because I'm like, he's just, the guy believes just like I do. I mean, it's very rare for me to get starstruck because I was a venue promoter for over a decade, I mean, I've worked with a lot of different bands over the years. So
Rob Zombie?
No, not Rob, but I did work with Ace Frehley, Gwar. I worked one of their shows. Vanilla Ice, and Mr. Van Wickle there. Worked with him twice. E. Casanova, Hoobastank, Seven Dust, several of them.
Nice. Awesome.
Have you seen some of his website stuff?
No, I have.
At some point. He's got his own style, but you can tell that he's all about like capturing and dragging you into his website.
Love it.
I mean, I would say, I don't know. For me, it's got like a goosebumps feel to it, like the way he, it's a fun website. It's got a lot of creative styles to it, and it's very animated. So like, it's real. Like, I mean, it's from every button you push on that site it's a ride. It's a roller coaster. He's putting you on a roller coaster.
That's cool. Right. That's cool.
So you take it serious. I mean,
I'm ready to check it out.
I mean, I think that's absolutely. Like that. So that was telling you, like when you're coming on the show, it's like, people have this opinions about paranormal and that they're full of shit. And, but everybody has opinions about everything. Right.
Oh yeah.
But I'm glad that we, with us hearing your stories, you're so passionate about this. I know I do apologize about Ghost Adventures. And if to be honest with you, I stopped watching it after the second season.
Well, that leads me back into what I was going to say, is that I don't blame Zach and I don't blame those fellas, okay? I don't. It was not their fault, all right? It was their production team's fault, on a lot of that. And that, and again, that was years ago. I'm hoping that now, I hope that things changed, maybe they changed, production teams, maybe some of the staff on that particular company changed, who knows. I just hope that it got better, for them overall, and that things are.
Have you seen the Kroll show, Bobby Bottle Service? They knock off, make fun of Ghost Adventures.
No, I haven't seen that.
I think it's going to make. Do you know who Nick Kroll is? That comedian.
I've heard
the Kroll show. So he did a spin-off, and have you seen it? It's called. He said it's Bobby Bottle Service, and he is making fun of Zach, and he's got his sound god. He's got his sound god, but his sound god's deaf. Right. So he can't hear, but he's a sound guy, and he's like, "I'm Bobby Bottle Service, and we're chasing ghosts." And it make you lighthearted. Go, hey, you know what?
Right.
Because I was talking to you, when we were reaching out about coming on the show, and I knew that right then, heck, an hour before we did this podcast, you were passionate. You were there. This is your life, and I think that to me, I got to give it to you because I could tell like these stories like that you really care about investigation, and you're not doing it to make a dollar. Now, I think the dollar's going to come to you. I think that will happen because as long as I think our generation is starting to see like, okay, we know all the shit's scripted now. Right. Like it's hard. It's even like watching the new movies. Like I'd rather watch an indie film with no CGI, I'll be honest with you.
Right.
Or I'd rather have shitty CGI. I'd rather have like, Dolph Lundgren with like fake blood splats than see another Transformer, cartoon, mixed in.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's what's coming back for us. And it's like getting you out there doing your documentaries. I'm extremely excited for the documentaries. Now, could you send me and Brad though? I mean, we still got another 45 minutes with you, I think, right? Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. We got some time with you, but you think me and Brad can you can make sure you track all our documentaries that we can share with our fans and our listeners?
Yeah, that'd be great.
And that we can kind of go down your rabbit hole of old stuff you filmed.
Yeah. I can send you the YouTube link.
Yeah. I think that's kind of cool. It's like to see like, you're really like, and the way you tell a story is like, I'd rather just have you sit there, talk like this, and then show footage of you doing stuff. And I tune in every week.
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah.
Because see, we did a lot of these, urban legends, because nobody else had ever done it before, not to this degree, and like the Little Boy Blue, over there in Wesson, that's a really interesting one. Have you ever heard of that one?
No.
Little Boy Blue in Wesson, Mississippi. Wesson is a real small town. It's a real country town, right outside of, I think it's right before you get to Hazelhurst, So, any rate, Little Boy Blue, basically, this cemetery shocks me every single time I've gone out there. I've been out there about 3 or 4 times already, but you got to know where it is, because when you're going down the road, the cemetery is right there on your right, and you'll go right past it because the whole thing is grown up. You'll never know that there are people buried right there, you could walk past it and you will never know that there's...
Is it a city plot or is it a family land?
That's a really good question. And we've never been able to figure that out yet.
Seems like a family plan, because if you bury somebody on land, it's tax free.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a lot of people, dude, buried on this land. Good grief! I'm like,
it's overgrown.
Yeah,
no lighting.
The whole thing is overgrown. You'll never know it's there. And so the legend of Little Boy Blue, supposedly, and I've heard 2 different stories. Okay, one legend is that he died of like yellow fever. Another legend is that he got ran over by a drunk driver. Okay, so those are the 2 competing ways of death right there. But the rest of it seems to be similar. All right, and so one version has it: if you go out there at midnight, turn your engine off, turn all your electronics off, you will see a blue orb coming your way through that, through that cemetery, through the forest. If it's lighting up red and it's coming at you, it doesn't like you, and you better get the hell out of there. Okay. And I've heard people that that got the red, that their vehicle started shaking, around and stuff like that. The other one is that the tombstone itself will light up blue. Okay, if he likes you, you'll see like the blue orb, but it's around the tombstone. If he doesn't, you don't see anything. Okay, so those are the two competing legends. Now, I was like, well, where the hell is he? Because when I went out there, I couldn't find nothing except body after body after body after body, all these different tombstones. And I went far back, man. And unfortunately, it was deer hunting season. And I'm like, I'm going to get freaking shot, And, I mean, because I wasn't wearing orange or anything, I was wearing probably this, probably black or something. And I was like, oh, man, I'm fixing to get my freaking self shot. And I'm right here in the grave, right? Right here in the cemetery. So, I left and I come back. I did some more research, on it. And I get back out there and I look to the left and it was like right there. Boom. And I was like, man, that is so cool. And I thought I had brought the charcoal and the paper, because a lot of these tombstones, man, are so deteriorated, you can't really make out what they say, without putting like the tracing paper and doing the charcoal, over it, and I was going to do that.
This thing's got to be like old.
It is. And so I was going to do that in order to get the name and then reverse it and see if I could figure out who it is, see if I could figure out, not only who it is, but see if I can learn anything about the person, or how they actually may have died, and see if that would add any substance to, to the legend. But I'll go back over there to my car. Back then is when I had a Camaro and I didn't have my truck. And guess what I didn't have? The charcoal and the paper. So I was like, daggone. So the next time I go back out there, I'm definitely going to have that with me and see if we can get a little bit more information about him.
Do you got something?
No.
So when you're out, like, what is the scariest, like, shit, I don't want to do this anymore moments?
Yeah, well, that was actually at the house that I was talking about earlier, where the two demonic possessions, took place. There was a lot of stuff that did, and that's the reason why I'm saying, and I'll say it again, for those that may have just been tuning in, etc. The owners didn't have to fake anything. The place was already full of haunts to begin with. So, and keep in mind, we got snowed in. All right, I'm in the kitchen area. Okay, my back, is thrown out, and there was two people that were outside. They were smoking cigarette because you couldn't smoke inside. They come running in, man. I mean, their faces were pale. They were freaking out. And one of these guys, I think, was a vet. He was a retired vet. And I'm like, what? And they said, you've got to see this. And I'm like, what is it? I go out there, and it's a goat hoof in the snow. I took a picture of it, and I look, and it goes all the way down and then around the house. And so I'm like, what the hell, And he said, man, I promise you, that crap just appeared there. There's no damn goat. And I'm like, I don't know what to ask at this point, And I'm like, and I'm in complete disbelief. And I'm like, there's no fucking way. No way. One of them idiots got drunk and probably did it and is just, pulling my leg, So I walk around the damn house hoping that I won't slip and fall and injure myself even more. And the path just completely disappears. And then I hear something, because we parked our vehicles behind the property. I hear something going on one of the vehicles. So I walk back there, and there was those goat hoof prints all over the vehicles, man. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm snowed in, and I can't go nowhere. So I'm like, yeah, okay, what do? I got to act strong, right? Not like I ain't scared. I'm supposed to be a pro, right? But now I'm about to lose my shit. Okay,
You're fucking shaking.
Yeah, I'm like, that ain't. Yeah, no, that's not paranormal. I don't know what the fuck that is, but I don't. So anyway, so I walked around. I'm like, man, I don't know, dude. Let's just go back in. And I had already taken the photos and some video of it and stuff like that. So we go back in, and and this is an all night. You're in the house, right? We started out with 13 people. By the end of the night, it was 3 of us left. The rest of them bolted out.
Come on.
Bolted out.
I mean, I could see that shit.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. Fuck.
And
I don't fuck with demonic goats.
No, and one of the last things that we saw was this was like a 2-story house, okay? And so you could go up underneath the closet and they would close the door, and we had night vision cameras, etc. in there, and there was a mirror in there, okay? And you would ask questions. We had some other instruments in there as well. Well, again, I was in the kitchen area, and there was some other people that was on the outside of this door in the room. And all of a sudden I heard this weird loud screeching sound. It didn't sound like a human. I didn't know what, if somebody like took their nails up against a chalkboard but echoed, like a banshee crying or something, And I'm like, what the heck? Then I heard this bam, like something just like went through a door. And I ran in there. And I say ran, hobbled, I should say, in there holding my back, and stuff, and I'm like, what is going on? And the vet guy that I was telling you about, he is literally curled up, and somebody else, and he's literally like curled up on the floor, and he's being held by somebody else, and he's crying, dude, by this point, and he's shaking like a leaf. He busted through the daggum table. I'm like, dude, are you okay? And he's like. And all he could do was just point to that door, man. And I'm looking in there, and I'm like, what the hell is that, And so I go back, and I log back into into our camera system. Because I set my own camera system up, in there. And so, and I'm running back through, and you could hear, he's sitting down in the chair, all right? He hears something. He looks back behind him, and then he looks back, and this is like real fast, so I had to slow it down. So he looks back, and he's got this, face look, and then he turns around, and he's up against the door. Okay, he's like, his back is up against the door, and then it's like something, he see his head go up like this, like something's got him by the neck, and picks him up off the floor, and then he's thrown through the daggum door, at that point. And I'm just like, dude, it is so time to freaking go. Time to go, man. Time to go.
Did you ever play with the Ouija boards or no?
No, never did. Never did.
I got one at the house, but it's sealed, and Emily said I can't strike it up.
We can't play with it? What's up?
I don't know. She said no, because she's like, your luck. You're asking us. You already seen the beer can explode earlier. Like, you'll be like, yeah.
But, a lot of people.
My sister, real quick, I got to share this with you. My sister, Beth, she was big into like pagan. I kind of told you a little bit about that, but like we were like living in a house, super church family. We went to Cedar Lake Assembly of God, like 4 days a week. I had, my siblings were like very gypsy style siblings, but my sister got really big in like the 90s, like Marilyn Manson. She really got into, drugs and lifestyle. Well, I remember one time going to her room, and she was like scared. She's like, I think she was like doing like witchcraft in her bedroom, and she kept seeing this demon boy run down the hallway. And it happened more than once, like 5 times. And, but that was kind of like my take on like some type of like, cause she would literally do witchcraft in her bedroom. Like, imagine this is my sister. My sister is 6 foot. Beautiful, but back then it was like plastic bikinis, black lipstick, shaved half her head. This is like early. She's graduating 95.
Yeah,
but she was like always. My mom was like, my mom was like super big in a church, and my sister's like, no, I'm going with another religion. And then she started doing all this witchcraft, and like she had this demon with her for like 2 years that followed her in the house. Like I used to sleep in her bedroom sometimes because she was so terrified because she'd see this demon just run down the hall.
Right.
And I'm like, you're calling spirits in the house. And then she was like, look, she was in that the shroom lifestyle and the living life. I mean, she was a teenager. She
could have just been tripping balls then.
No, but I'm saying she kept like practicing it, and like I think she started bringing spirits to the house.
Come on,
I'm telling you, there's some weird stuff. Like I had some weird stuff where like doors would slam. Like especially our doors were not like the cheap doors they have now. Like these are like, we have a ranch style home, beautiful ranch style home. It's the house right across from Cruthers Country Corner. It's a house with the pond. But like I would hear it'd be me and her in the house, and I'd hear doors slam. Like I'm serious. I had water faucets cut on a few times, and it's only a couple of us here. Like where our bedrooms were, like nobody cut on the sink in the kitchen. That was on the other side of the house. It's a ranch style home, so it's like stuff like that would be like, oh wow. But I blame her for like sitting there and calling spirits, and then she got married to my brother-in-law, and they're no longer together, but like they were living at Eglin Air Force Base. Yeah. And I moved in with her, like kind of rebelled against the family. I didn't want to be here. Bring me to Destin. I'd be with my sister. But then she'd like pull out a blanket and be like, do you want to do some more witchcraft? And I was like, I live at your house. So I sat there and she was still doing it. I mean, she no longer does it anymore. Right. But like, she was like every night bringing in spirits. I'm telling you, there was, because like if she didn't do it, we never had these energies. Right. Yeah. I always believe in vibe and energy. I believe in energies. I know when I shake somebody's hand, when I meet them in public, I know if they like me or they just want something from me. Right. I think I have that gift, but like that shit would freak me out. And it'd be little stuff. I never personally got to see a spirit, but I know I could walk down the hall and I felt like somebody was there.
Well, it's almost like, because in paranormal, and again, you have those that try to investigate it from a scientific standpoint, those that investigate it from more of a religious standpoint. But some of the common, I would say one of the things that both of those types of paranormal investigators share is the empath, and that's what it sounds like you are. It's like you get this gut feeling, you know what I'm saying, that something just ain't quite right? Whether it's about a situation or whether it's about a person, and some people are more in tune to that, than others. And that's probably, what was going on.
My older sister doing witchcraft for like a decade and doing it at night.
Yeah. And I'm getting a bad vibe from this.
Oh, she rebelled. I mean, my sister rebelled on almost everything, but like, that's when I started feeling something weird. Yeah. And I'm like, it wasn't a good spirit. There was something there. Like my mom and the crazy thing is my mom left the church and she still believes in God. I believe in God, but my mom left the church. And then my mom got into like loves ghost hunting. Yeah. And so my mom has like, cause we have like Indian ancestors, we're the Jourdan family. So like my family's Cherokee Indians and my mom's massively into it. She didn't live in a house. I think my mom didn't live in a house until she was like 14 or 15. My grandfather was a banjo teacher out of Alabama and he was a airboat mechanic and they lived on the water. Right. So like I think it all made sense, but like, we've had some serious, like, and that's what I always tell people all the time is like energy. It's all about energy. It's the energy you carry. If you're having a bad day, people can feel your bad day. If you're having a good day, people can feel you're having a good day. But if you tell me there's nothing out there, then to me, I believe in spirits. Like, I mean, I believe in I could see Little Boy Blue, like having an energy there, especially if it was a probably sad way he went unfinished.
Yeah, like now I'll be honest, when I went out there and I did the investigation, I didn't see anything blue. Okay. But that doesn't mean that nothing happened. We got a lot of really neat things that happened off the K2 meter and also off the EDI, as well. Last time I was out there. But again, as far as trying to back up the urban legend, I couldn't get anything to back up the urban legend part of it. But I did get a lot of stuff to back up that there is paranormal activity. And some people are like, well, Gene, you're at a graveyard. Yeah, there's spirits here. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. But I'm interested in this particular one, this one right here, the one that everybody says is indeed Little Boy Blue, but nobody knows what his name is, And so that's the reason why I want to try to go back out there and figure it out, by doing the charcoal. Now, I'll tell you, that leads into another haunted cemetery, which is based over there in Meridian. And that's dealing with the Queen of the Romanian Gypsies. Have you ever heard of that one?
Nope.
Not once.
Have you ever heard of the Romanian Gypsies?
Nope.
Negative.
Have you ever heard of a gypsy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, now we're starting somewhere. So the Romanian Gypsies were quite large. Okay, they were mainly nomadic, people. But she was the queen of them. She was the queen of the Gypsies. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, to me, that's very, very cool, to have the queen of the freaking Gypsies buried right here in this state. But it's not just her. We have a second queen of the Gypsies and the king of the Gypsies, and they're all three buried in the same cemetery. And this cemetery is called Rose Hill in Meridian. I love, love, love going out there. It's really, really old, but really well kept. Kind of like the Natchez Cemetery, but just not quite as big as the Natchez Cemetery. But when you go out there, though, you can see her gravesite very quickly because it reminds me of New Orleans. Everybody's throwing beads on it, offerings, just like they would, the Queen of Voodoo, Marie Laveau, which I've also investigated her too down there in NOLA. But the Queen of the Gypsies is quite unique. She died at the age of 47 years old, which just happens to be the same age as what I am right now. But she died during childbirth, having her 15th kid. 15. And I'm like, that is insane, But, and she didn't die here in Mississippi. She actually died right over there in Alabama. But they didn't have enough ice to preserve the body, and wait for everybody to come in. And so they had to transport her over there to Meridian because Meridian at the time had enough ice to preserve the body. And they said, at the funeral, there was gypsies as far as the eye could see. I mean, literally, as far as the eye could see. That's how many people were at this lady's funeral, okay? And she was buried in a gold casket, and she had a lot of riches and other jewelry, etc., that she was buried with. Well, I think it was in the 1960s, somebody tried to dig her up, They were probably drunk and needed some daggum,
or meth head.
Yeah, or meth head, But they tried to dig her up, to rob her, but they got caught though before they could do it. And so what they did is the city did dig her completely up, encased her in an iron cage, and then put her back down and then cemented her in there, so she ain't going nowhere, right? So that leads into a very unique little urban legend about her. So it's believed, the urban legend about the Queen of the Gypsies is that, and this is maybe the reason why you find all these little trinkets and stuff, one of the reasons. And it's very well known that her favorite drink was Sunkist. So if you ever go out there, you might see a lot of Sunkist drinks, out there. But at any rate, though, back to the legend. So you want to know, you've got a question, all right? And so you would go out there and you would ask her your deepest question. And if you were sincere about it and you left her the proper trinket, then she would visit you in a dream and give you the answer. That was the urban legend. Now, how the hell do you prove that? I'm like, ain't nobody, I'm like, nope, nobody's come to me. Now, of course, we did a paranormal investigation, while we were out there, we got some really cool stuff, but nothing to really back up the urban legend, because at the time we were trying to back up trying to prove urban legends from a paranormal standpoint, which is pretty unique. It hadn't been done at the time. Well, one of our investigators said that she had gotten visited, by her, and I'm like, well, that's cool, and I'm glad, but there's absolutely no way that, in other words, there's just no way to prove or disprove that urban myth or that urban legend unless there's enough people, that are telling the truth, that come forward and say, hey, yeah, she did visit me in a dream, and it is true. But so far, I've only met one person, and that was her, and I don't know whether she was fibbing or what. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Do the spirits or whatever, do they seem to be camera shy at times? Do they seem to be less active if they know y'all are filming or anything?
Absolutely. Especially children. You have, and you'll know because, a lot of times the children, if, like, for example, and I'll just use this location as a prime example. So I got the rare opportunity to investigate the Beatty Mansion. It's an abandoned 31-bedroom mansion. This thing is a beast. You will get lost in there real quick. It's even got a huge underground basement and all of that, man, with all these different hallways and stuff. It is just, it's wild. But at the same time, it used to be a home for the unwanted. Okay. And that's really, we were actually contracted to do this film, and it was called The Unwanted. And we went out there and did it. And man, it was really, really cool. It wasn't really anything that was like bad or like, like you see on some of these, ghost shows and stuff like that. This is more historical, but yet peaceful, which was quite different, than what I was used to. But we did notice that there was a lot of children that was present there, and a lot of them didn't want to, come out or do much, but you could tell, from some of the other devices that there was definitely children there because they were being mischievous, to a degree. But after a while they started warming up, and coming, and talking, and we were able to get some really cool EVPs out of that. Cool. But yeah, and you can still go to the Beatty Mansion today and spend the night there.
Does it cost money or is it free?
No, it does cost money, but it's not near as expensive as a lot of these other places, though. The guy that owns it actually lives down there in Florida, but he has a keeper, Miss Podrowski, that that's out there, and she doesn't charge a whole lot, to take you through and show you around, and stuff. Now, this is no bed and breakfast. You're gonna have to, buy your own stuff, but it does got power there and water, but that's
AC?
about all it's got.
No AC?
No AC.
That's the luxuries that people are going to lose out. Like,
that's right.
For me, if I was going to own a hotel.
Now, I will say this. There's a house over here in Florence, Mississippi. This extremely haunted. As a matter of fact, there's been 2 documentary films called The House in Between. A good friend of mine, Brad Cooney's a really good friend of mine that was a part of that show. And I think he just did an event, I think last weekend, where you could actually go out there and camp, spend the night there. So
he owns the house?
No, he does not.
The lady still owns it?
Yeah, the lady still owns it. He's just one of the paranormal investigators and tourist guides out there for it.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really
neat.
Neat.
Watch it?
No, I haven't seen it. I've never heard of it.
We'll turn it on after this.
Yeah, definitely go watch it.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a great
I'm in this. I'm in this shit.
Yeah.
Like, if I had money, if I don't know, me and Brad probably gonna do it. I mean, I think I'd find like a haunted bed and breakfast, and then I'd send you out here.
Yeah.
And hopefully I get approval, because I think anything that's built, because here's the thing is, my buddy Kevin, he's no longer, like, he's an archaeologist. He doesn't practice, but he found 800 bodies. Kevin owns the Morgan Square.
Okay.
So he found 800 bodies.
Come on.
So think about everything built, let's say 100 years ago. Well, there's a lot of stuff that's built on burials.
Mm-hmm.
And they never did the research. Like I think his story was he did surveying, because he still does surveying for dirt. and I think Walmart was coming in on this one piece of property and as a burial ground. Oh, back in the day when people had the plague and stuff, they had landfills like your everyday landfills you have here. Like they made their burials were not like perfect burials. They're like, here's a couple acres, we're putting the bodies and we're burying them.
Right.
And we're getting rid of it because if you bury them in the ground, it stops disease. There's so much that we don't know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you know, in you know, just like with Mississippi, I mean, you know, you can go just about anywhere and you're going to have a ton of different urban legends, you know, and that's the reason why I'm going to try to tackle some of the largest legends dealing with the Salem witch trials, you know, because there's a lot of history there, but also there's a lot of urban legend there too. And normally when you have history and legend, there's got to be paranormal, right? And
have you ever done real quick have you ever done the Rock and Roll Graveyard down here?
I have not.
Have you heard of it?
I have not.
So it's a cemetery of the school that I went to, St. Martin. And there's it's just, I mean, I used to go out there with like, you know, 16-year-old. I was 16. I'd bring a girl out there. Yeah. Okay. But like, it's one way in, one way out. And it is like, it's right by the school, but look it up. But it is I mean, have you ever been down there?
Oh yeah. It was an urban legend when I was a kid. Too.
Yeah. It's
everybody had to drive out there. It's like a rite of passage.
It's like, if you get
I'll have to check it out.
If you get your driver's license, you got to drive down. It's like a half-mile road. Yeah. And it's like only one way in, one way out. But I'm telling you, you get there. I don't care. You don't even need a camera. Yeah. It feels weird. Like you pull up and you're like, there's something here. Yeah. Right. There's no like, and it's not as old as like what you're telling me up in North Mississippi, but it is like one way in, and the road is just like, there's no cars can pass you. And it's like, and it's just so far back, and there's like one spotlight. Like there's like one light that just lights the whole cemetery at night. Yeah. But that's pretty cool. I know, I just want to share that with you because that was when you were tagged into that I was curious about urban legends and paranormal stuff, because rock and roll was one of them. And then it's no longer, I don't know what company it is, but I have a cleaning company called Janie King, and I had an employee. It's called Earl Denham Law Firm, and he took an old building next to the Walter Anderson Museum, and he took this one building, and it was like a 1,000 square foot building, and he made it 3,000 square foot with an elevator. And when I first got the contract for cleaning it, I had a paranormal team investigate this place. Well, I had an employee named Lee. She would clean the buildings. Yeah. And I've been there personally where water faucets would go off. But there's one night where there's a glass elevator in the middle of this, 1900s expanded, house on bricks style, like the old colonial houses. Right. Well, she got locked in the elevator for 30 minutes. Come on. And she never, like, I don't think she ever returned. Like, she freaked out. She's like, like, because it was a new elevator, and but there was so much energy. Yeah, I mean, that law firm and the Rock and Roll Graveyard is something you really need to investigate down here.
Oh, most definitely. Like I said, there's a lot of places that that I'm learning, almost on a monthly basis. Of people saying, "Hey, Gene, you need to come and do this. You need to come in." I'm like, it's added to the list, and I'm going to do my best, to get to it. But like I said, that witch, the Salem witch trials, there's just a lot more there than what I thought, And for those that don't know, the witch trials actually started a lot way before the 1600s. They started back in 1489, and it was all because a friar of the Catholic Church, he had written a book in Latin about how to, first of all, what is witchcraft and heresy, how to detect if someone is a heretic or a witch, and then what kind of punishment did they get, okay? And he wrote a book that consisted of all three of those parts in Latin. Well, and that was like back in 1489, and the book just became very popular, went viral. Back then that would have been viral. And a lot of people over there in Europe, innocent people, were burned at the stake, And so ultimately that book ended up over here, the Latin edition. And some people were like, well, Gene, well, how could they have read it, if the English translation didn't come out till the 1900s? I said, because most of your higher society could read Latin, you know. So they were able to, to read it, back in the it was in the 1680s is when the Salem witch trials, started. And so after all of that happened, okay, it wasn't until 1928 that Mr. Reverend Summers, he came and translated the book from Latin into English. And then he got 1,275 copies numbered. Each one of them were numbered, printed. And I own copy number 46, which is right here. This is the Malus Maleficarum, which is Latin for Hammer of the Witches. And this is basically the text manual, or the textbook or guide to witch hunting. Okay, that was a huge part. It was I would say it was the only thing that started the witch trials. There was some other stuff, but this book right here, though, definitely played a huge role in a lot of what happened. But if you want, I'll read you a quick passage from it.
That'd be great.
Yeah, let's go.
So this is from the 1928 English edition, first print, copy number 46. Some people have asked me, well, Gene, can you still buy this book? Not a first print, no, but you can pick up a reproduction, from a bookstore. Okay, let me get over here to chapter 1. Bear with me.
This shit's creepy.
That one is it first print though?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, this is like collect. That's some creepy.
Oh yeah. So people have asked me, Gene, well, what's the book worth? This book is probably worth about $1,200.
It's an expensive book.
Yeah, it's a damn book. I didn't know how to read, Gene.
Let me get over there to it.
We're both dyslexic.
Okay, so I'm going to read you from right here, the Malus Maleficarum. I'm going to read you the first paragraph, okay? And I mean, it comes out the gate strong, all right? So part 1, question 1, here beginneth auspiciously the first part of the work, question the first, okay? Now keep in mind, this is a textbook, all right? So it says, whether the belief that there are such things as witches is so essential a part of the Catholic faith that ostensibly to maintain the opposite opinion manifestly savors of heresy. And it is argued that a firm belief in witches is not a Catholic doctrine. See chapter 26, question 5 of the work of, hopefully I'm pronouncing this right, Episcopus. Whoever believes that there any creature can be changed for the better or the worse, or transformed into another kind or likeness, except by the Creator of all things, is worse than a pagan and a heretic. And to when they report such things are done by witches, it is not Catholic, but plainly heretical to maintain this opinion. So basically what that means, guys, is that back, if you were to look at that today, okay, and if you were going by this book and somebody is like, let's say that, a guy or girl is changing sex, they would be considered worse than a pagan and a heretic and would immediately be put to death. That's basically what the book is saying. And this book has been responsible, for millions of deaths. As a matter of fact, due to some of the historical records, the witch trials didn't end in the 1600s. They continued in some form or fashion up into the 1950s. Mm. So that's the reason why it's got my curiosity, because I definitely want to see, for myself, some of these locations, and I think that would be really neat, to take that with me when I go.
Oh well, we have a part 2. Get past the push of the end of the year. This is your biggest part of the year. Right. I say let's January. let's revisit this and continue. I had a great time tonight.
Absolutely.
This
Oh,
shit's
absolutely,
awesome.
man. I appreciate y'all having me on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll I'll download this, put it in a Dropbox, send you some stuff, and this is something that continue to do because I think that what you're doing is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I
What do you
appreciate
think,
it,
Brad?
guys.
I'd like to go live somewhere haunted, and do a podcast somewhere haunted.
Man, that
Okay.
that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I'm down.
That'd be cool.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
keep in mind, I'm okay with.
We all
anything-
need to get together and do that at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like when you making,
Maybe the part 2 we do it live from an actual haunted location.
Yeah, heck yeah.
down.
What about that hospital you were talking about?
They
Gene,
tore
you
they
can sleep on this futon right here.
there's been 3 hospitals in Mississippi that I've investigated. One of them they tore down. The other one they blocked it completely off. And the third one the city has taken it. I think the city took it over from the county and revoked everybody's permission because a lot of these places, man, they've been abandoned for years, And so when it rains and stuff, the brick and it's not being kept up. And so what happens is that the roof starts caving in, and if you're in one of those
becomes a
We
buildings,
call that Mother Nature.
yeah, I mean, and if you're in one of those buildings and, and the roof caves in and you die,
Yeah.
it's on the city
Yeah.
or the county at that point. So that's the
Well,
reason why they started revoking. But however, if you got Ghost Adventure money, you can definitely get in for, you know what I'm saying?
I know.
Ain't that
Like
weird
so
how that
Biloxi-
happens?
Yeah.
So I know a guy, Corey Christie in Biloxi. I know some people in Gulfport, so we know we're connected. Ocean Springs.
Sure.
Brad's got Ocean Springs locked down.
I've got some connections to Discovery Channel too.
Yeah, but Brad's got also how old's your project Mahoney's? How old is your building?
My building was built in 1900, so 124 years old. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, we could definitely scope out some
All
bodies
right, well,
there.
John
Start
said,
some
let's go
ghost
live
stories.
at Rock and Roll Graveyard. I'm not against that. I just say, and I know that, you're further away from us.
Right.
But if you do, mi casa su casa, you sleep on this futon right here.
Mhm.
Hey, man,
So
sounds good.
you save money, come here.
Oh yeah.
We'll get together and we'll investigate
Yeah,
some stuff.
man,
I'd
we'll-
love to
we'll
learn
set it
from
up.
you.
Sure.
Can't
I
wait.
appreciate it. We'll set
All
it
right,
up, guys.
All right, twistedcarnival.com.
Right.
Check out Gene Hamil. He
Gene
does
Hamil.
marketing. You can check out his website out.
Check out his IMDb. He's got a lot of good stuff on there as well.
And I think you should send us some stuff. Me and him can start watching it.
Mhm.
Sure.
And then
Do a little research.
we'll do it tonight. Let's fucking do it.
Done.
Like
Let's go.
I mean, I at least want to try to edit the beer can exploding.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
thank-
definitely want to go back and watch that.
that was crazy, dude. I'm telling you, I started having chills, and then all of a sudden my stomach started turning. I was getting a little scared, and I blew out the demons. Okay, I'll finish with that.
He got so happy he had to go to the bathroom.
All right, and also,
You see, you get the championship belt right there.
yeah.
That's it,
All right, well,
right there.
This podcast is
go.
brought to you by Oliver Scott Insurance and Brad J. Real estate. You need him. Gene Hamil. Any kind of marketing, check out his work. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to any one of us, and we'll get you in contact with him. But I hope you really enjoy it. Happy Halloween, and you have to always beat to your own drum. And I think that's what us three do. And I'm proud of us. Thank you for this amazing episode. I really loved it.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
can't wait for part 2. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Pleasure
Absolutely.
to meet you,
Y'all
Gene.
take care, man.
Have a wonderful night.
You too now. Take care. Bye-bye.